Hello, my name is Katie and welcome to my shed. It is such a nice day today and I'm feeling much more refreshed. I haven't had a day off since I last spoke to you. I was at work yesterday, but I've had the morning off and done a little bit of life admin and business admin, and I'm feeling a little bit more energised, which is great. It is so sunny outside, it's beautiful, and it's made me decide what I'm going to do today, which is the kites, because I've talked about it before, but the kites around here have been getting braver and braver, and this morning there was 3 kites sort of circling around and swooping around the house, so I will try and put in that clip now. Typically it doesn't look as good on the camera as it did in real life, but they were very close and making lots of noise and it was fun to watch, so I thought I would do a print today of those. So for those of you that don't know, I've only been doing YouTube since the new year, and it's part of my journey to spend 12 months focusing on my art, and this channel is really a way to keep me, like, hold me to account. So it's to make me keep making art, because otherwise, you know, other stuff gets in the way and you think, oh well, I better go shopping or mow the lawn. So consequently my house is getting dirtier, my garden is getting more unruly, but I am creating lots of art. So today I am going to do this mainly because I want to, because I've seen those kites and it's made me really want to come and play. A few videos back I posted that I had bought a new piece of kit and I want to have a proper use of that. I'll get it for you now and show you. So this is the XCut Express. It's a card making, like a die cut machine, but you can use it for printmaking, and I've got an extended bed and some felt, which I'll go through and show with you in a minute. And for those of you that don't know, part of this year of focusing on my art, my friend Louise and I have gone into business and we are running art workshops, and the one we're doing in May is Drypoint printing, and I've already done the marketing material for it, so I don't really need to do another one for that, but I thought it'd be quite nice to do it, A, because I want to create this image, I've got an idea in my head that I want to do, B, because it will give me a chance to practice and get much more familiar with the machine, but also then I can take the images to the workshops and show people different kinds of things that they can do. So that being said, I'm going to do something that's not that different to something I've already done. A couple of weeks back I did a video using a pasta machine, so we'll be using that and the XCut for the workshop. The benefits of this is you can go a little bit bigger. With the pasta making machine you can only go quite small because the width of the machine is quite small. And I did a dry point of some swallows. I'll make sure you can see there, some swallows, and I want to do something similar today. It's probably going to be a little bit bigger, but with red kites, maybe a tree or something to break it up, or maybe I'll just do something like this with the birds flying. So that's the plan for today. I will show you the kit and sort of show you the technique I'm doing, and yeah, hopefully it won't be too long a video. The last few videos have been really long, and I don't know if that's a bit off-putting for people. I mean, I quite like watching long videos because I can have it on in the background when I'm doing stuff, but I don't know if the videos I've been doing are too long. So let me know if you think I'll be better off doing short ones. Some of that is I'm just not very good at, like, editing. I don't know how much I can chop out and keep it the content. I'm sure I'll get better. Everyone says the first sort of year of doing videos, you're rubbish, aren't you? So I think it's okay that I'm a bit rubbish. We'll see. Right, I am going to set up the table and then I'll show you what I'm doing. So the first thing I've done is cut a little piece of acetate to size. So I've cut this into a 5 inches by 5 inches square, and I will be using this to create the print. And then I'm only doing 4 prints I think to start with. I've torn up some pieces of paper to soak, so that'll be my next job, because I want the paper to be well soaked and rested before I print onto it. This paper is really lovely. It's Somerset, I don't think it's Somerset Velvet, it's a Somerset paper, but it's really beautiful quality and great for printmaking onto. And I'm going to soak these in some water, just need to go and get that, to make them damp, and then I'll blot them off, and then that will all be soaking in, making the paper good for printing. The idea is that the wet paper sort of sucks the ink off of the plate, so that's why we need those wet, but you don't want it to be blobby, so you want it to be really even, because otherwise you might end up with sort of darker bits of image and then lighter bits. So that's my first job. I'm going to grab some water now. Okay, so the first thing I have done is that's all been soaking, and it is now resting in some blotting paper, and hopefully it'll be good to go when I'm ready. And I've just drawn up a very, very rough sketch. I like to have something just to work to, and I will be tracing this image through, and I've kind of got, I'm not sure if I'm going to use the top of a tree or not. I probably won't, because I feel like I just want them in the sky. And I've just drawn out 3 kites doing at slightly different angles, and tonally marked in where I want things to be and what marks I want. So that's the first thing I've done. And I'm going to use a little bit of black paper as well, because that is going to help me be able to see my scratches. So for those of you that don't know, Drypoint is basically use something like an acetate, but it can be other materials. It could be perspex, it could be a piece of metal. Some people use, and I've used before, Tetra Pak, things like that. That's more like a collagraph, but you can scratch into it. And then you use a tool to create lines, and where you create the line, when you print it, that will be the bit that shows. So depending on the mark you make and the width of the line that you make will vary the marks of the print. So if I show you again on this one, I mean, and it came out different every time, because that also, the way I ink it up will vary it as well. But you can see here where I've made fine lines, you get fine marks, and where I've done more scratching, you end up with darker marks. Now this, the light blue around the edge, I didn't make any marks. That's just where I've left some ink on the plate to create some texture. If I wanted to, I could wipe that back completely, and this would be white with just the marks. But for me, the whole point of the print is I like to have some sort of background colour. You can see here I wiped away more than I did there, and that's why the sky is lighter. The other thing I did on this one is I put some little blobs of red to represent the throat of the swallow. I may or may not do something similar this time. So just need to decide on my composition. When I drew this out, I drew it out thinking I was going to make the print much smaller. Just check you can see that. So we've got a selection of tools that we can use to make the scratches. I have got this, which is a Drypoint needle, but it is, where is it here? It is now getting a little bit blunt. It works, but it's not amazing. I've also got this, which is for woodcut, but the tip on that, goodness, I've got this so close, it's quite fine. Oh dear, sorry, I laid on my leg funny. And I have got this, where are you, which is for tile scratching, but this one is so sharp. And the other thing that you can use is things like sandpaper or dry, like wire wool, to make some more generalised scratching, but I don't think I'll be doing that today. I might add that in afterwards. I like to pop a little bit of masking tape on mine because when I'm moving it around, I want to be able to put the paper in the right place so that I am tracing it properly. But I will lift this and move it around, but for each bird means I can check the positioning. So the first one I'm going to do is this one, so I'm going to get my position right for that one first, and I want that one quite high up. So I'm going to, this means that I can start scratching, and then I can lift this up and that up, and then put it back down. It'll all be in the same position. Well, it will be when I put down the black card and take that down into position 2. So I can lift this one up and then move that and check my marks and then put it back down when I want to. I hope that makes sense. You'll see me doing it, and hopefully that will give you a bit of clarity. So I'm going to use this one to start with. I'm not going to be able to see a whole lot of mark making. But hopefully you can see, or hear rather, what it's doing. What I'll do is I'll just do this one, and I'll show you it, and then I'll pop it all on fast forward, because otherwise we'll be on for another video that's an hour and a bit long. So I can feel where the marks are and feel where I want them to be a bit deeper. So let's see where we're at. I'm just going to lift that up, lift this one out of the way, and then hopefully, I'm not sure if, yes you can see where the marks are at the moment. Also see how dusty this thing is. So I just need to do a bit more detail on there. Now there's a little lump in this acetate, and I'm not sure if that will affect the printing or not, but we will work that one out together. And I think that one is very loose. Might go in with this one, it's a little bit thicker. For me, I like to vary the mark making a little bit, but not everyone does. It's personal choice. And that is where we are at the moment, just with that one there. And I'm going to pop you onto fast forward, time lapse, and do the rest of them. I am somewhat regretting my choices of trying to do this because this looks a bit naff, as in very naff. But you know, if it's really rubbish, I can just somehow trim it down and we'll just have the kites. So what I'm going to do now is get it inked up and then we'll print it. I have a few different colour choices for ink, but I think just for the first one I'm just going to go with black, keep it simple. So I've got the Caligo Safewash Relief ink, and I like this one because I can wash it off with water, but it is still slow enough drying that it works quite well, whereas some of the other watercolour ones that I've got dry really quickly. And there's a few different ways to ink it up, but you can either use a little bit of mount board and sort of scrape the ink into it, which is what I'm going to do today, but I have previously demonstrated doing it with a brush where you sort of stipple it in and rub it into the creases. Either is fine. I'm just going to pop some ink onto the plate, and I always get in a right mess with this stuff, which is not good when I've got to go to work tomorrow. Can't get the lid on it either. Right, there we go. So I'm just gonna, hopefully you can see, drag the ink across the plate and into the scratches. So we pop the ink all over and then we rub the ink off and leave as much ink as we want depending on what the end result is that we're after. You see, I'm already messy, and ideally you'd use stiff gauze. I haven't got stiff gauze on me, but I'm just going to use some of this soft gauze. I'm going to make it into like a little, what's the word, like wrap like this, and I'm going to twist the ink around onto the plate so that pushes it into the marks where I want it, but also that's what gives me the sort of cloud-like movement on the end print. I need to pop that up a bit for you. There we go. I think when we do the workshop I might treat them to some gloves so that they don't get in too much mess. You can see I'm taking off some of this ink and it's staying where we've made the marks. I forgot to say this will be reversed when we print it, so do be careful if you're doing anything that needs accuracy, like a face or writing or a building, something like that. Make sure you reverse your image first. Just move this over off the dirty paper. It's always handy to have plenty of newsprint or tissue paper, something like that around. So I don't end up with fingerprints all over the image. I like to leave these circles on, but if you didn't, you could rub it a bit harder, or you just keep going until it's all gone. But for me, it adds something, because I feel like it gives suggestion of the movement in the air, particularly on a hot day when you've got birds of prey, buzzards and red kites soaring around on the thermals. But that is a personal choice, and feel free to do whatever suits you. I think that's on the back, but I'll turn it over and give the back a good clean. Just don't want too much of this dark around the actual bird, because I feel like it'll take away from the bird there, won't it? Just going to flip it over and clean the back properly. It doesn't really matter if it's on the back, but I just need to check if it's the back or the front, because I didn't want those marks on the front of the image. Just check it, check if I'm happy with it. I mean, I'm not happy with this at the moment, but it might print better than it looks now. And I also think this head here, I'll show you how much you can see, it's not dark enough, but I'm going to pause you and get the press out. Okay, let's set this up. So it just falls out. It's very easy. Pop it to the middle. It has a little plate here. Just stops the board from falling out. That's actually the one from the other side. Got a dial here to adjust the pressure, so if you can see me turning, that the rollers go closer together and further apart. And that's because we want the pressure to be enough to create the image and transfer the image from the plate onto the paper. Then I've got this board. The board is made by a company called handprinted.co.uk, and they make them specifically for this purpose. They cottoned onto the fact that lots of people were using this for printing and just make the base, but you could just make your own. But I like the fact I knew it was going to be exactly the right size. It also comes with this piece of felt, and it saved me buying a big bit of felt to adjust it. So I've got that in, and then I'm going to just adjust the pressures. I don't know exactly what I want, but I want it to be tight to start with, and it will get tighter with the pressure of the paper and of the plate. Okay, so I'm just going to open this. I'll use a little bit of newsprint just to keep my board clean, and then I'll grab the plate. Make sure you put it ink side up. Then a bit of the paper. And make sure it is damp enough and that it's evenly spread. I've just got a piece of tissue to pick it up with because my hands are mucky. And I don't want that ruining the paper. Check it in the light to make sure the water is even, which it is. I kind of want to lay this in the middle, or as close to the middle as I can. Then I'm going to pop another piece of newsprint over the top just to protect my felt and any ink that might bleed through. Put my countdown. Okay, so I'm going to use the handle here, turn it through, pull it through the press. I'll get a feel for whether it's tight enough. If it's not, I might do it again, but with more pressure. Yeah, that's not really much pressure at all. I've gone through without much pressure on it at all, so I might just have to tighten that up. I'm just going to go back through it again. I'll have a quick look. I'm not entirely sure that that was enough pressure. It just felt very loose. Looks we've done something, but it also looks a bit of a mess. Let's have a look. Oh, that has really not worked. I'm not sure what's happened here. Either I've not made the scratches deep enough, or I pulled off too much ink. I'm not really sure about that. Let's have another go. So what I'm going to do is just clean that up and then re-scratch into it with maybe a little bit more pressure, make it a bit deeper. And you can just use water, but I've also got this, which I find works really well. It's just a Method glass cleaner, but it works really well on that ink. Okay, let's try again. Let's hope it's a little bit more successful. I've given it, basically I've gone over with one of the other tools, with the wood cut one. I've also used this blender, which to help get rid of some of the ink on the wings, just to add a bit of contrast. And let's move the press back over. I think the paper's too wet, because we're getting bleed, aren't we, here? I mean, it's definitely better, but I think the paper's too wet, so I'm going to blot it off a little bit more, I think, and see what happens. We're going to say third time lucky. Let's hope this one comes out all right. Okay. So that one is really faint. But the print quality is better. I really like it, but it is very, very faint. It's very like pencil mark. Is it fourth time's the charm? I'm going to give it a bit more. I'm going to scrape it a bit more, make the scratches even darker, and then I'm going to do one last print, and then let's have some fingers crossed that it turns out okay. I hope you've all got everything crossed for me, because I'm pretty sure what else to do. I have redone it a couple of times. What's the word? Made the scratches deeper. I tried wetter paper, drier paper. Got the pressure as hard. I might be able to change the pressure. Just by adding a bit of extra paper. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do that as well. Okay, that is better. Still not perfect though, but it is definitely better. Right, let's have a little tidy up. I've decided to do one more. I've redone the plate and wet some more paper. I've gone with a different paper. Okay, so I've redone it, but in a long, thin one. I can't remember which way around it was. Let's just spread it aside. Okay. Looks like it's done it, so let's see. Move it back a bit. That is already better. The print quality is better. I wonder if it might be something to do with the paper that I was using, which it's really good paper, but yeah, I like that much better. Got one more bit of paper ready, and I'm going to try and do a second print off the same inking. May not work very well, but to see whether that gives me a more sort of hazy image. Let's just check this paper is damp. It is indeed. Pop that there for a second. I do need a bit more working space, don't I? Just because it's easier to load. I'm going to go back again, but I did feel like there was good resistance on there. It'll be quite interesting to see how this has come out. Oh, actually, that's not too bad for a second print. I quite like it. We've lost the sort of hazing in the background, but the kites have come out nicely. Okay, now I'm going to tidy up and then we'll have a chat. Okay, apologies if it looks like I've been crying. I promise I haven't, but I think during the cleanup I might have rubbed some of the glass cleaner in my eye, so my eye has been running rather. And also look at what state. What state? This is ridiculous. I don't think there is any need to get in the mess that I've got in. I'm just a mucky pup, clearly. Let's have a look at what we've done. Some of them have come out okay, but there was a bit of trial and error with that. So this was the first print, and if I go in close, you can see that it was too wet, so it lost any of the definition at the bottom. Although that top one I really like. It does just look like very sort of soft pencil marks, but that little bird I like. And then we got a bit better, and actually as it is dried, the sort of bleeding it doesn't seem as bad. I quite like this tree and some of these fine lines, the mixture of sort of sandpaper marks with the fine scraped in marks. that top one there, I think, is the one that lets it down. The other two are probably okay. And then the third one was much better, but hang on, I can't remember which was third. I think it was this one, wasn't it? Oh, no, it was this one. It was the very fine one, which was better, but it is very light. So yeah, just the pressure wasn't enough, I don't think, but the marks were clearer. And then the fourth one, I've got the pressures better. Yeah, this one's much better. Still not 100% sure with these marks whether it actually needed that or not, but good. You hear the screaming? Someone's having fun out there. We live quite near a school, so I wonder if that's what that is. And then I did the second print, which was the same, well, pretty much the same birds, but just in a sort of long, thin format on much cheaper, thinner paper, and I use different colours. I think this one's it looks a bit like a parrot, so maybe if we cover him up, actually it looks better. And then I did the same, I didn't even re-ink the plate, we used the same plate and reprinted it, and it's much paler. And I'm not a fan of the hedge in the first one, and then the second one, the kite from below looks a bit like a parrot. Although what I could do maybe is reuse this plate, but just trim that, just use those two birds maybe. And that is a good thing about using something like this thin acetate, is that you can cut it. So you can cut it to the shape that you want. I could just cut out the kites that I like and layer those on top of other images. So it is quite fun, and it's quite versatile. My goodness, that was about a minute and a half. It's quite versatile in that you can layer it up, you can cut it out, you can use different coloured inks, you can ink it up differently and wipe away different bits of it. So there is a lot of versatility in it. Okay, so the stuff I've learnt is I need to learn which papers need how much wetting, and I think I just over wet the first papers. The second ones I just used some cheaper paper because I just wanted to play, and I need to get a little bit more packing paper for the press so that I can adjust the pressures better, because obviously on the tightest pressure it still wasn't enough for these, and that's not a big deal. In fact, I could have just used, I've got some small pieces of felt, I probably should have just used that, and I will in the future. I just need to get things set up a little bit better. I think the simpler shapes work better. I'm going to get some gloves for inking up. You know, those really long ones that go all the way up your sleeves. Maybe some waders. I could probably get like a full-on hazmat suit from work, just to stop me getting covered in ink. Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to the workshop. I think it's a really accessible form of printmaking, and I think our artists coming to learn how to do it will have a good time playing with the different techniques and things. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I hope I've realised that there's one chunk where I was etching out doing the dry pointing, where instead of going on time lapse, it looks like I've gone on slow motion. So I'm hoping I've been able to edit that and make it fast forward and then fast forward again and then fast forward, so it doesn't go on for about half an hour. If it looks a bit odd, that's probably why, because I've had to fast forward some slow motion. Yeah, apologies for that. And yeah, let me know, have you done dry point printing before? If you are somebody that uses one of the the die cut presses, the embossing presses for printing, do you use the XCut or have you got the other ones? Because there's a few other options that you can use. I went with the XCut because you can adjust the pressures, but I believe the other ones are, you know, equally as good, and you can probably pick them up cheaper. Certainly when I've been looking on eBay and Vinted, the XCuts are going for quite a lot of money. I managed to get that one, I think probably about half the price that they seem to be selling for on eBay at the moment. But I will keep an eye out for another one because we'd quite like two for when we run the workshops, just to give the artists a little bit more time to play. So do let me know what you think, and if you've had a play, that would be really, really interesting to hear. So have a lovely week, and I will see you soon.